Great. Hi guys. I know it's really late and it's not the greatest thing to talk about, but I need to get this wee live. I've not been on YouTube in ages, so I'll just wait till people come on a wee sec. And I'm going to speak about, hiya. I'm going to speak about the sex education programme for our children that's currently just entering all our schools. And I see it as it's a genuine child protection issue in Scotland, guys. I'm not just kidding. I know I come on here and expose paedophilia. We raise awareness about grooming gangs. I've not been on YouTube in ages. There's been a lot happening. But the Scottish Government are creating and making policies that are going to sexualise your children, and it's really serious. So I'm going to just quickly go through everything I've got on it, guys, and get it on YouTube, get it on the YouTube channel. So I'll give this a wee sec. So it's RSA, we've got a wee booklet, The Future of Sex Education. And I'll just run through everything, guys. And if you've got children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, then you need to pay attention, because this is like really serious. So I'll give you a wee sec. And if you could just share this, guys, if you know anybody with children, right? So I'm just going to start. Right, Expose Scotland are currently looking into the sex education programme that was brought into our schools since last lockdown. While we were in lockdown, our Scottish Government were sitting in board meetings for about 12 months, incorporating sex education into the Scottish education curriculum and the sex education starts age 3. Right, guys, but I'm going to tell you how this is sinister, how it's serious, and how you need to pay attention, right? So I've been investigating and looking into it. I'm about to take action, and we're going to start a massive campaign. Age 3. Yep, age 3, guys. So I'm going to tell you everything I've got on it, right? And you can look into it yourselves, right? And I'm going to tell you basically the stuff and the research I've done myself and what I found on it. So, I'm going to quickly run through what this sex education programme contains, right? Right, children are encouraged to masturbate, and explains what feels good and what doesn't, etc. And it also, in this sex education, explains to children the difference between good secrets and bad secrets, right? 1, red flag. Children shouldn't be taught to have secrets. They just shouldn't, right? Shouldn't have bad secrets and good secrets, because you shouldn't have secrets. And if you do have secrets, then you shouldn't be telling children that you have secrets, right? Just end of. It's also and it also goes into explaining a child about consent, stimulation, and what feels good, etc. So see, in this has been part of their policy, right? So see, this policy is a paedophile policy, right? So it's a paedophile policy, because I don't know if anybody's aware about PIE. Part of the way, it was a group of politicians with the Westminster government, the Paedophile Information Exchange, right? So they still exist. They still exist today, right? Because one of the people that's incorporated this was a member of PIE, right? Because their name flagged up they were in one of the boards for the European thing. So, like I said, in your Westminster government, what do you call her? Priti Patel, is it? No. Angie will kill me. She knows I can't get her name now. She signed the legal documents to lower the age of consent in the 70s as a legal representative. Harriet Harman, right? She was a legal representative, and it was to lower the age of consent to 10 years old in the 70s, right? She was a legal representative that signed that off. She is now a politician in the Westminster government, Harriet Harman, look her up. And now they've brought this sex education programme into the whole entire United Kingdom. It's not just in the United Kingdom, this is a global sex education programme. And this is why I'm doing the research, and this is why I found it sinister, right? So it's a global sex education programme that was created in Israel, and all the worldwide governments in 2009 had to agree to, at some point, incorporate this sex education programme into their education systems, starting from 3 years old. These people, see, these world leaders believe that children have sexual rights for birth, right? I've looked at all the policies and their documents. They believe that your children has sexual rights from birth. I'm not even going to go there now because I'm going to explain why your parental rights are going to be taken away soon. So, like I said, there's a lot that this is more sinister than COVID. If you've got any care for your children or the future of even having your children. And if you are in any way, shape or form, you should be alarmed your children are about to be sexualised for 3 years old. 3 years old. They're going to be sexualised without your consent, no parental opt-out, and that's your Scottish Government, right? And I'm going to show you some documents. Oh, sorry guys, I've been having problems with everything tonight. I'm going to show you some documents as well to back it up, and you can go and look at them. The Scottish Government, what they're hiding now. So, well, everybody was worried about COVID and vaccines and shit. Our governments worldwide, including the Scottish Government, were incorporating sex education into education right across the curriculum for 3 years old. And this is getting incorporated into every single subject, guys. Maths, English, biology, geography, sex education's going to be in there. That's why it's not going to be simple to get removed. That's why I'm saying we need to take action right now before we're in the same state as Wales. Wales are going to court in November. They're having to take their government to court because they have lost their parental rights. And I'll explain why through this sex education programme that we'll be losing our parental rights in Scotland as well. So not only am I been exposing paedophiles, but literally, well, I've been shouting about paedophiles for the last year and a half and doing videos on exposing like all different things like Dunblane, Bernardo's, who's also involved in child trafficking and paedophilia, the global elites, the Freemasons, the Vatican, the Crown. Well, the whole entire time, they've had a master plan to sexualise all the children across the globe for 3 years old, right? So I'm going to explain everything that entails, right, guys? And you tell me this isn't a sex education programme made by paedophiles, created by paedophiles, for the entertainment of global elites to watch your children being sexualised and touching each other, and the parents having no rights and they say in it. The Scottish Government have already made it legal for your children from 5 years old to, when they go into school, to change their gender and their name while they're in school without parental consent or knowledge. That's fine. I'm going to tell you how that's so sinister as well, and it doesn't look sinister. There's a newspaper article. The Scottish Government allow 5-year-olds to change their gender and name while in school. Right, it's in the newspapers. Thanks, by the way, cheers. So it's in the newspapers, right? Scottish Government have now made it legal as of about 6 weeks ago for children of 5 years old while in school to change their gender and their name. So Sophie, when she goes into school, can pretend to be Robert. And I'm going to tell you how that's so sinister, guys, right? Because this sex education programme is going to give your children sexual rights in school, which also includes gender rights. If you look at the state of California and America and shit's in, with hormone blockers and gender transformation in children, right? And all these confused children. I support a group and it's called Save Our Children, the Little People, and it's an American group. I helped them build it up. And it's all these kids that have been on hormone blockers and shit, and it's child abuse. And they haven't even hit puberty yet, and they're changing them into wee boys, into wee lassies, and wee girls into wee boys. And they've not even hit puberty, and they're giving them medication, hormone blockers, gender transformation medication, and it's all without parental consent, or without your parental. You don't have parental rights when it gets to this stage. That's how I'm saying it's sinister, right? If we allow it in Scotland, in England, in Ireland, in Wales, Wales is already. England, I'm not sure where they're at. England started it, so Scotland, I'm actually scared now that I've looked into it, because I believe that Nicola Sturgeon's been really, really sneaky with everything. And I believe Scotland's in a worse state than we know yet with this sex education, because I believe we've already made the legislations and policies to remove the parental rights and give the children. I believe with what I've seen so far, and I'm going to just get into it, guys, right? So looking into all this and researching and stuff, right, so in 2012 there was a school in California, right? They brought this in America first, right? They came across, somebody was researching and they were there, that Wales, see the girls that campaign for Wales, Education Our Say Our Way it's called, right? They've got a group, and it's Public Child Protection Wales, right? They've been kind of leading the way in RSE, this is what it's called. It's called, in Wales it's called RSE. In Scotland it's called RSHP, Relationship and Sexual Health and Parenthood, right? It's already in your schools, it's already a subject in your curriculum. But this, I'm going to explain what that means, right? For you and your children and your rights and what's going to happen next, right? And how I am absolutely terrified, guys. So this all came out in America first, they pushed it out there. And see, when they brought it in, they brought the sex education in, and see the following year, there was a school in California, not a kindergarten school, which is primary school, right? And they had a bondage book, a sex bondage book on the shelves in the library for kindergarten children. Right, do you know it took 12 months campaigning? That's how I'm saying how sinister these policies that come with this sex education. You need to look into politics. I hate politics, but you need to look into it. The Scottish Government are pulling a total fly one, and so are the whole governments worldwide. They're about to sexualise our children for 3 years old. So, like I said, and the paedophiles are coming, and the global elites, well, guess what? They're here. They're in your nurseries. They're in your schools through your sex education programme. It might not be them teaching it right now, but it was them that created it. And they know where they're going with it, they know what it's for. So, look up a document, UNICEF, right? UNICEF document, and it's all about children's rights. So see, when they did this across the board, and they proposed this global sex education programme in 2009, the governments all across the world had no choice, right? It came from Israel and it was created in Israel. And so this is the global elite paedophile. See, when I talk about the 9 circle satanic paedophile ring, guys, and the global elite paedophiles that sexualise children, that take all the children for the care homes, and they abuse them, and they have satanic rituals, and they sacrifice babies. This shit's real, right? I know nobody wants to believe it, right? This is who these sick motherfuckers like Jeffrey Epstein and all that, and your Crown and all the rest of them, right? This is who they are. They've got away with this for centuries. And now it's just got a whole lot more sinister, right? Because us campaigners are exposing them and bringing them down, right? So they've got court cases, the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry, it's like piling up. That's corrupt, but that's going to just expose it, right? There's unmarked graves of children. All of Scotland, nobody has no idea, right? Thousands of children lying all of Scotland, unmarked graves, we walk over them every day, and you don't even know, right? It's sickening. This is satanic ritual abuse and the Satanists, and how they had unlimited access to children, and nobody even had a clue how many children. Thousands and thousands. And this is where your social services are sinister, because they work in cooperation with the governments when they want children, along with social services and Bernardo's Charity. Bernardo's Charity are huge in it. They have been for the last 150 years, right? Bernardo's Charity, the Scottish Government and social services. And they remove children and they get sold. They get trafficked. Right, so this is a sex education. So, UNICEF document, right? So it was all based on this UNICEF document. It's all like all the policies and stuff. So look up a UNICEF document, right? This is what your sex education programme's based on. And it says that children, they're the ones that believe that children have sexual rights for birth. That your child should have sexual rights for birth. What the actual fuck? Who are these people? These people are insane. These people are paedophiles. And they've got money and power. It's just they're still paedophiles. Just because they've got money and power doesn't make them any less a paedophile. Like, they're worse paedophiles because they abuse their power and their money to get what they want, and that's children. To be sick and have control of their minds when they get adults because they know what they've done to them as children. How sick and perverted is that? How sick and how much shitbags are these guys? They wouldn't face a real person, a real man or woman. They wouldn't face up to a real man or woman because they're too scared. But yet, and then people say you're scared of them because they're the crown and they're this and they're that. They bully and they rape children, right? They scare children and they terrify them, so they've got control of adults because they've probably been raped by them when they were younger. If their family was in power of any kind, they've probably been part of satanic rituals and they're absolutely fucking terrified to even tell anybody because they'll just disappear them. It's the world we live in, sick, guys. COVID is at least of your worries, right? Because the global paedophiles are about to sexualise all your children for their own entertainment. Think about all the social media sites and that, and what children will be doing on them when these governments mess with their heads. Now, we've already had a pandemic and COVID and parents arguing over vaccines and masks. Children's minds are already fragile now, right? I think they're already confused enough. What insane government would then decide to introduce sex to them at 3 years old? Like, seriously? What kind of insanity is that? That takes a really insane, sick motherfucker to... They're about to rape the minds of children globally. Whether you see it's child rape, it's child rape. They're about to rape the minds of your children, right? Doesn't mean that the next thing is they will be raping them, right? But they're about to rape the minds of children. This is what a sex education for 3-year-olds is, rape. So, campaigns across the world. Right, so, there was... I'm going to just start reading off the other stuff. This was just notes. So I think if you haven't already looked it up, right, look up the sexual rights of your children, whatever country you're in now, right? Look up the human rights of children and children's sexual rights, right? So this is going to give this thing. They've got this sexual education programme that brings in the sexual rights for your children into the schools as well, because they can't get taught sex education without it becomes they get sexual rights attached to that, right? Which means it removes the rights of the parent, because your child now has sexual rights, whether you like it or not. You've got to court if you... So, for instance, if you oppose it once your child has sexual rights, then you're going to have social work at your door, taking your child away, saying that that you're denying your child their sexual rights, right? This is where this has gone, guys. It's been absolutely driving me insane for the last 4 weeks looking into all this. I don't even have children at school, and I'm so glad. I think I'd have bulldozed the schools. I think I'd have thought, right, that's it, the paedophiles, I've got my kids. Because I was already running for a paedophile ring back then, so bearing in mind what this is like for survivors as well now, or people that are still going through it, knowing that their children are about to get taught sex without their consent, permission, and it's nothing to do with them. They're wee babies at 3 years old. So the human rights of children, so it means that they'll have the same sexual rights as adults for birth. So who's going to provide your child with their sexual rights? Who's going to show them what to do with their sexual rights? There's a question to ask yourself. The human rights of children and their sexual and reproductive rights, that's what the act is called, I think. And I would say in Wales, Wales was campaigning this, but I'd say that Scotland's the same as Wales, where children already have kind of more say and more rights, and the parents anyway, because they've got the parents' rights are already been taken away in a lot of places in Scotland through the schools, through not being able to discipline your children, through lots of things, right? The schools get more say than the parents. So we're in trouble with this, right? And this affects every child, every race, every gender, every religion. It's going to go against it doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what your beliefs are, doesn't matter. They think they can just do this without your consent. This is how sinister this is. They brought this in without even asking your permission. They don't even feel the need to say, is it fine if we speak to your 3-year-old about sex? A total stranger speaking to your children, a total stranger explaining sex to your children. How do you know that? How do you know that adult, that strange adult that's teaching, removing your child's innocence, is qualified and is even they've not got the qualifications, because they're no child psychologists, they're teachers. They can't be introducing this stuff without the safeguarding that goes with it. Like, there's absolutely no safeguarding here. There's a massive child protection issue with this sex education programme, and the parents are going to do something about it, because the politicians and the paedophiles, the politicians and the education ministers that are bringing it in are the people in power. So it's going to need to be the parents to stand up for your children. And if you treasure your children's innocence in any way, shape or form, and believe that your child has a right to be a child, and that it's the duty of the parents to decide when your child should be sexualised, at what age, at what progress. Bearing in mind, we have children at all different stages. We have children with learning disabilities. We have children that don't understand all this stuff, right? They're not even going to differentiate between any of them. It's just the same across the whole board, right? So bearing in mind, it's in the hands of strangers, the sex education of your children. And I'm going to go into, guys, I'm waffling a bit because it's so bad. Right, so last year in England, right, guys, this is how it's already progressed, right? Last year in England, there was 242 schools took part in a pilot scheme, right, and tried out this sexual education programme in their schools. And the part they took out the sex education programme was the sexual stimulation, right? So legislation in September 2020, I think it started, but they brought in legislation after it, right? So that was the English government, Boris Johnson. So when you scroll down the links, so see with this sex education programme, see when you actually go into it and you scroll down the links, there's a choice at all different countries, right? Now, I first asked why when I had all these links. It's because it's a global sex education programme, so it gives you all the countries that have already started it, right? Some countries hadn't started it yet. This is what I'm getting to. Some countries hadn't started it yet. So see when we all went into lockdown last March, that was because countries hadn't incorporated the sex education programme. I know some people won't want to believe that, right? But it's the truth. A lot of countries hadn't done it yet, and they were threatened by the global elite, the global world leaders, right? So the global world leaders, when this first came about, certain countries get threatened, when I looked into it, researched it, to get their foreign aid removed if they didn't accept it. So anybody that wouldn't accept it get blackmailed. So everybody said aye. All our governments have already said yes to this, right? And guess who created it? The World Health Organisation. The World Health Organisation. Right, so 242 schools in England started the sexual stimulation. It is all planned. And then distract the whole entire global people by COVID, masks, vaccines, bullshit, right? Well, the paedophiles are incorporating a sex education programme in a way that the parents won't know, won't have a clue, won't even know what's happening until their children all start touching each other and stuff, and then it's too late, because you're like, what the fuck's going on in my schools? Oh, it's already legislation, it's mandatory, there's no parental opt-out, we've got social work at your door because you're saying you don't want it. This is how advanced they are with it. They're already ready to chap your door. And they've incorporated certain legislations with the Coronavirus Acts so that they've got the right to do it, right? So they've already set it all up, they've already got it all ready, and now they started on the 1st of September in Scotland, rolling into your schools, just right across the board. And I mean in every subject. So when I say in every subject, so like for instance, primary one maths, the children get the pride flag, take out sections of the pride flag. So obviously that's the sex education in maths. So they count the sections of the pride flag and they learn all about what the pride flag is, right? So that's maths, sex education. It's in every subject, biology, history, geography, everything. You're not going to be able to get it out. Wales are having to go to court, and it's mandatory. So the parents have no say, and the children have sexual rights. So the parents have lost their parental rights in Wales, right? So this is where Scotland and England are headed as well, because we've even started it, we piloted it. So 242 schools in England took part in it last year. So as I said, it came from the United Nations. It was created by the World Health Organization. And the children's sexual rights was created by the World Health Organization as well. And as I said, there's crazy legislations about to come in. So I'm going to show you some pictures, right? There's also, I don't know if you're aware, right, but there's actually newspaper articles in Scotland about this. And John Swinney. And one of the pictures they've passed in Scotland to teach the children about sex education is a jar of Nutella and a banana, and it's promoting anal sex, right? This is for 11-year-olds, I think. It's promoting anal sex, and they've passed it. It's to come into your schools. Your children are going to be watching it at 11 in school. The teacher holding a jar of Nutella and telling them about the penis goes into the bottom and they dip it in the Nutella, right? And that's how your children are going to learn about anal sex. Tell me that's no paedophiles. Tell me that's no sick as fuck, right? And I'll show you the pictures. Aye. Oh my God. Definitely. Oh my God. They're here. So that's the press release, right? I know it's back to front, guys, because of the camera, but I'll find a way. I'll put the screen on all of these, like the right way round. And let you actually take screenshots or something. Right, so there's the jar of Nutella and the banana there, see it? Your children are going to be showing pictures of that. What's anal sex got to do with sex ed? Right? They're going to be told about oral sex, anal sex, facial ejaculation. What's all that got to do with... Why do children need to fucking know that? They don't. So the image is depicting a person having sex with someone with a Zimmer frame. Aye, look, there's one of the pictures is having sex with somebody in a Zimmer frame. Why would a child be having sex with somebody in a Zimmer frame? Like, these people are actually raping the minds of your children. That's fucking rape. That's child rape. I don't know if it's just me thinks like that, but to me that's child rape. That's like the start of what they're going to do next, right? So I'm going to just get into this, guys, right? So, like I said, 242 schools. Right, leave that in now. So I'm going to go into what Wales done on it, right, in the paperwork I've got here. Right, so this is Wales's investigation into RSE, right? They've been fighting their government for the last 12 months. They're going to court next month, November. So, Public Child Protection Wales is the group, right? They were leading the fight to remove RSE. So they were on it first about 9 years ago or something, when they started like having these meetings globally, because they were chasing it about like the world. They were going to different countries and seeing what was happening and following it. Because like I said, California in 2012 took it on. They've all tried it to see how the people will react all around the world, all different countries. And the people have reacted with obviously total disgust, right? So now they've did it in a different way. Now they get all the global people to make deals and sign contracts to accept it as a global sex education programme for obviously the next part of their agenda. It's part of the global 2030 agenda, and it's sexualisation of children. So it's in there as well. It's in the global 2030 agenda. You can find that documents and stuff. I know it's sickening. It is absolutely, this stuff's been driving me insane for weeks. I can't sleep at night or nothing. I'm like, the paedophiles are everywhere, because I'm already like they're everywhere anyway. But now this has just made me fucking sick. So the investigation, Public Child Protection was leading the fight in RSE relationships and sex education from the mandatory element of the curriculum bill. And so there's a curriculum bill 2020, look up that, right? So, and like I said, Scotland is along with Wales. We're not going to be fighting to remove sexual safeguarding or biology or anything like that, or when it's appropriate when your child's 11 to learn about how babies are made or whatever. We're not being totally anti. It's about this stuff's sick, guys. It's sick. We're fighting to remove the RSE from the mandatory element. Mandatory means no parental opt-out. The bill mandates RSE from the age of 3 years old, right? So it mandates it for 3-year-olds, as I said, which brings in sexual rights, and it makes the parents have no say in it. Educations across the country are excited for the new curriculum set to be in place by September 2022. So by September 2022, across the whole world, this is meant to be in place. But it's not all as it seems. The original RSE draft, February 2019, so that's out there. RSE draft, February 2019. So anything I say like that, guys, will be a document. If you Google that, you'll find a document of some kind. Gave no hint of a parental opt-out. And then this was in Wales, right? In Wales, and the Welsh Government carried out 2 online polls about this opt-out. The Welsh people in overwhelming numbers rejected the idea of no parental opt-out. And in January 2020, which was January last year, the Welsh Government announced there was no parental opt-out, right? So they done it. That's what they done, that was the time frame. So members of Public Child Protection Wales have studied the global rollout of the controversial sex education since 2013. They've observed the horrors from afar. So on hearing the news of the no opt-out investigations were underway, page 4 of the RSE draft 2019 refers to UNICECO, which is the global rollout. So UNICECO is the global rollout, right? Which is the comprehensive sexuality education, CSE, right? What is CSE? Right, so it's called RSE in Wales, it's called RSHP in Scotland, it's called CSE in some countries. That's child sexual exploitation. They've actually got the balls to name it by what they're actually doing. And these are sick people. Child sexual exploitation, CSE stands for. Anybody that knows that, right? Well, that's what your sex education programme's called for your 3-year-olds, right? So Agenda 2030. So as I said, it's in Agenda 2030, right? And it's a global sexualisation of children. Right, so before you get carried away with rights-based approach of UNICECO, look at the investigation, right? The history of sex education goes back decades, but we will focus in 2010 onwards. The reason for this is because our government documentation, the future of sex and relationships education curriculum in Wales 2017, Scotland's got their own as well. Draft Relationship and Sexual RSE, it's called, right? Relationships and Sexual Education. Scotland, RSHE, Relationships and Sexual Health and Parenthood. It's called in Scotland. For 3-year-olds. Why does a 3-year-old need to know about being a parent? Right? So of the UK's new sex education programme, it was a document which sealed the deal, therefore, it's only right to get to see what it is our government support, right? So denial of support for or knowledge of this education means one of 2 things, complicit or negligent. We struggle to see any other explanation. Either way, it's a step too far. But this is really a step too far. So here we have the WHO, the World Health Organization, standards for sexuality education in Europe, a framework for policymakers, Education and Health Authority Specialist 2010, that's another document, or as we call it, the Godfather of our sex education. This document claims to provide a holistic approach based on the understanding of sexuality as an area of human potential, helps children and young people to develop essential skills to enable them to self-determine their sexuality and their relationships at various developmental stages. Understanding of sexuality and the area of human potential. Oh, I've already read that. The document goes on to contradict this by believing sex education. So inside this document as well, it believes that it states that sex education should begin at birth, right? So it contradicts like other stuff it says. What is more disturbing is the matrix from page 38. So that document is the World Health Organisation standards. I'll hold it up, but I'll put it running like you take pictures of these, right? When I'm finished. The document goes on to contradict, right, blah, 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 blah. Pay close attention to the titles and subtitles, information fed into a child. Skills the child will acquire and the attitude the child will develop from that information and skills. Age 0 to 4, right, this is in this document. So age 0 to 4. Enjoyment and pleasure when touching one's own body. Early childhood masturbation. Childhood masturbation does exist, but these families need support. Children do not need encouragement, nor should this be normalised. It is sometimes a sign of abuse. As part of safeguarding, a child is expected to differentiate between good and bad secrets. Like I said, you shouldn't be telling your children shouldn't have secrets. And if you do have a secret as an adult, you shouldn't be telling a child it or to keep it. Simple. They simply know what adults tell them. They should never ever have to ask to keep a secret. So this is in part of these documents, right? For the 0 to 4-year-olds. Good and bad experiences of your body, what feels good. Listen to your body. If the experiences feeling is good, you do not always have to comply. You do not always have to comply. Like, so what they're saying, sometimes you don't need to comply and it's happening. Sexuality and rights. The right to be safe and protected. Responsibility of adult, blah, blah, blah. And the rights to explore gender identities. That's 0 to 4 years old, right? It gets worse the older they get. So age 69, right? Sexual intercourse. 69 years old. 69-year-old, right? Sexuality. Love, being in love. Tenderness. Sex in the media, including the internet. Appropriate sexual language. Sexual intercourse. Emotions. The difference between friendships, love and lust. Jealousy, anger, aggression, disappointment. Friendships. Now tell me this isn't fucking children's head up for 69-year-olds. When there's already enough going on in the world. I didn't want to read that, it's making me angry. We are told it is evidence-based, but much of it references back to themselves, and some not English, making it difficult for the average educator to question or trace back. That is if they question it at all. Something we have discovered along this journey is most educators fail to question anything. Living under a developed government who is supposed to act in the best interests of us, but one struggles to see how any global policy could be applicable. The document is the Sexuality Education in Europe and Central Asia 2017. From page 174 is the study carried out in England. That was with the 242 schools that took part in across England last year in encouraging children to masturbate for age 5. Who the fuck, that's paedophiles. So like I said before, if teachers that are going to teach us, these are being groomed by the paedophiles. If you start teaching it, you'll be no better than the paedophiles, right? That's my opinion. And you will be going to court along with the paedophiles because they're grooming you and you're removing the innocence of children and you're not even qualified or you're not even, it's just wrong, man. It's just wrong. So the teachers, you could stop this because if you went on strike and refused to teach it and shut the schools down for a bit, then it would give us a chance to fight with the government to get it out before it's mandatory, before you've no parental rights, and before, well, I don't know. So the document is the Sexuality Education in Europe and Central Asia. From page 174 is a study carried out in England. It states it applies to the whole of the UK. So that's Scotland, England, Ireland and Wales. And it refers to the UK agreeing after much pressure from lobbyist groups. This document alone tells you what teachers think about teaching sex education before they have been introduced to what is about to come. The World Health Organization Standards for Sexuality Education in Europe 2010 was the framework in play at the time that this research took place. A year later, it was discovered, like I said, 242 schools in England had begun the pilot scheme and included self-stimulation for children as young as 4. On further investigation, we found it was part of the All About Me. So if you've heard about the All About Me, it started with that, they piloted it through All About Me. Package from the United Nations, the UN. There are many articles online from Surrey to Warwickshire. There was an uproar from parents and the piece was removed overnight. This is a clear demonstration of how those resources and policies can switch, change or take a long time to fight. While we waste time in current contents, they are passing legislations to mandate from age 3. So like I said, while we're all sitting wasting time, our governments across the whole entire United Kingdom are passing legislation to mandate sexual education from age 3 with no parental opt-out. Do you trust these policies? Do you trust these politicians that have been lying to you for 2 years, that have always lied to you? But it's pretty obvious how much I've lied to you the last 2 years. How can you trust them to be in control of this sexualisation of your children when they've all, half of them have all been already proved to be part of paedophile rings, paedophiles or Freemason paedophile rings? Do you trust, so it's like I said, do you trust these politician policies that the resources will remain appropriate the entire time that the legislation is in force? So see when they implement it, do you trust that they're going to like look after you? No. The last time Education Act was changed was 20 years ago. And we're operating under the World Health Organization 2010 framework just 2 years ago. The same document in the UK government signed us up to after much pressure from lobbyist groups. In short, do not trust a policy change. We must fight the legislation which mandates this over parental rights, preventing the parent carer from acting in the child's best interest and to be the judge as to what age is appropriate. It is time that adults shoulder the responsibility of sex education in a form of appropriate safeguarding. So like I said, they're going to implement this in schools, sexualise all your children, and there's no safeguarding, right? These people aren't qualified or trained to deal with this situation. They're not qualified and dealt and trained when children start experimenting and touching each other, which naturally will do their children. So this was part of the All About Me that was already in the schools, right? And this was part of the thing that it came in. So for information, should you need it to remind children of the rules about self-stimulation, All About Me. There are also rules about touching yourself too. This is for 4-year-olds. Now, lots of people like to tickle and stroke themselves as it might feel nice. They might play with their hair, stroke their skin, or they may even touch, there's a document there. Or they may even touch their private parts. This is really very normal. However, some people may get cross or say it is dirty, especially when you touch your own privates. This is, why touch it, especially when you touch your own? You shouldn't be touching somebody else's. This is strange as it is really very normal. However, it's not polite to do it when other people are about. This is your children getting taught this in school. It's something for 4. It is something we should do only when we are alone, perhaps in the bath or the shower or in bed, a bit like picking your nose. It is certainly not polite to do it in class when everyone is watching. This is sick. This is your government. So just a reminder, the ideology behind this education is they believe it should begin from birth, right? And it's mandated against parents' wishes from the age 3. We're going to lose our rights for age 3 anyway. The document tells you there is evidence-based, but right, listen to this. It is based on 87 studies, now globally, right? Globally, for the rollout of this sex education programme, 87 studies. How many people are in the world? Billions. 87 studies. With a third of those from third world countries. Over 40 studies were carried out in the States, and the wealth of it is drawn from AIDS and HIV research. We live in a developed country where we have policies based on our needs. The importance of tailoring our children's services is a grounding principle of our youth justice system. The criminal justice system is governed by the Westminster government, yet the services which are functions of the system are developed. We recognise the need for local solutions to local problems there, but all that work seems to dissolve when put next to the idea of a global sex education programme, whereby the research is wholly irrelevant. That expels the claim of evidence-based. It's evidence-based for those people, but it's not evidence-based for anybody else. It's evidence-based for the paedophiles. Here we have a rights-based approach starting from age 5 instead of birth. It sounds very lovely, but pleasure, consent, bodily rights and sexual rights for a child, for 5. Pleasure, consent and bodily rights and sexual rights for a 5-year-old. Well, that's just a no. It's just a no. The paedophiles ain't coming into schools. I'll stand outside every school. I'll get the jail. I'll go get the army coming in. Now might be a good time to check your child's sexual rights, right? So like I said, guys, look up your child's sexual rights now and see what the law is standing at now. It speaks a lot of age-appropriate and developmental sex education. This is an echo of the World Health Organisation 2010. According to MenCap.org 2008, 4.6% of children in mainstream schools, this is in Wales, have special education needs. So, don't know what it is for Scotland yet. Less than 10% attend special schools, and many more waiting diagnoses. Some often go without diagnosis. This dissolves the argument for age-appropriate. Biology and safeguarding can be generalised, but sex cannot. Moving forward to 2018, we have the revised version of UNICECO. So look up UNICECO 2018, right? Please see statement 1.3 in this document. It explains it is a revised version. This document also tells you it is part of the 2030 Global Agenda. Appropriate biology and safeguarding can be that's the same wee bit, sorry. So Scotland seems to be well underway with the sex education. They are not afraid to hide it either. Published online for all to see is supposed to be healthy, but John Swinney, Deputy First Minister and Cabinet Secretary for Education, has no problem with advertising threesomes for girls. So that's John Swinney. Facial ejaculation, bondage, porn and prostitution, that's what he's advertising. The images used had to be pixelated for the evening news. So they put them up in the evening news and they actually had to be pixelated because they were that explicit. But it's fine for children in the classroom. The only person seemingly vocal on this issue was Richard Lucas, the leader of the Scottish Family Party. Richard has challenged them over and over again. There's actually a press release you can find online. I think you can find it on YouTube. A press release where Richard Lucas was confronting John Swinney about the sex education in Scotland and the inappropriate pictures like the Nutella with the banana and stuff, and they just refused to listen. The leader of Richard challenged them over and over again, but they refused to back down. There was an instant where they forbade him to speak. That's right, so there was an instant where they told him he wasn't allowed to talk in a room full of adults because it was deemed inappropriate what he was talking about. But again, he addressed, but it's appropriate for children, but the adults don't want to hear it. So before Scotland, like I said, like myself, before I get this off the ground, I am going to write to John Swinney, who is the Deputy First Minister and the Cabinet Secretary for Education in Scotland. So I'm going to write him a letter, and that's the first steps. and I'm going to ask him if he's got the appropriate skills and qualifications. Scrutinise what's been proposed with the global adoption of sex education in the UNICEF documents. So I'm going to write, Dear John Swinney, I am writing on behalf of a group of concerned parents. We are wondering if you'd be able to provide us with the following information regarding yourself. Qualifications, skills and experiences in education, child sexual abuse and sexual exploitation, any employment history within these fields, anything else that you think would bring us comfort and knowing you're in charge of such important decisions and adjustments. I hope you understand why this information is important. Legislation being passed on complex issues needs substantial skills and knowledge behind them. I am myself qualified to tackle these issues. Other parents aren't. Therefore, I feel it's my duty to ensure there is a professional and wholesome approach to these issues. I wouldn't want anyone less educated than myself making decisions which could have a long-term detrimental impact on child development and inhibit opportunities to spot abuse. Thank you for taking the time to read my mail, and I look forward to hearing your response. So that's going to John Swinney soon, the next week. And I want his qualifications, because they've got to court, this isn't happening. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff that's in Scotland, right? This is the press release. So the last straw for John Swinney, public support for John Swinney's vulgar sex education lessons is severely lacking. A national poll commissioned by the Scottish Family Party, conducted by Savanta Cormers, I don't know how to say that, has revealed that a huge number of Scots are opposed to the element of the sex education resources commented by George Swinney for the use in Scottish schools. The Scottish Family Party leader Richard Lucas challenged Mr Swinney with lurid details of the lesson plans in a fiery public meeting last year, but Mr Swinney reaffirmed his condemnation of the resources, stating that he had viewed them. So John Swinney thinks that all the images and the messages below are appropriate. Let's see what the Scottish public thinks. Right, so here's what I'm going to show you. So there's the jar of Nutella and the banana. It's going into your schools. And the image is depicting a person having sex with someone. Oh no, that's not explaining the jar of Nutella. I'll find there's an explanation. This is the video that's going into your schools, guys, right? This is actual past, right? So that's the jar of Nutella. And that's, look, that picture, somebody having sex with somebody in a Zimmer frame, right? I'm going to go to the image below because it's not explaining the Nutella, it'll tell you in a minute. Right, so the image below is depicting a person having sex with someone with a Zimmer frame. Is from the sex education resources endorsed by John Swinney. A video aimed at 15-year-old pupils, so this one's for 15-year-old, includes to illustrate mature pornography. A meagre 16% agree that this is appropriate. The same video advises the whole purpose of pornography is to arouse us, to get us sexually excited, and that's great because using your actual imagination is hard work, and as long as you approach pornography with understanding of what it is you are looking at and enjoy it in moderation and avoid anything illegal, then you'll be fine. Have fun, right? That's John Swinney's put that forward, even though just 30% of Scots regard it as appropriate. Children aged 12 are taught that the rate of orgasm, right, this is Scotland, guys, right? So children aged 12 are taught that the rate of orgasm during sex varies significantly by sexual orientation. Lesbians have around 12% more orgasms than straight women during sex. Only 28% perceive that this is appropriate. Children aged 12 are taught that sex involving penetrating the anus is a sexual activity that both women and men engage in. Only a third of Scots agree that this should be taught. The pupils aged 15 are taught about oral sex involving the anus, and it is described as using your mouth and your tongue to stimulate a person's anus, known as the analingus rimming. Less than a 3% of Scots agree. When when the vulgar drag performer Flojab performed at Primary 1 pupils earlier this year, John Swinney said it was a mistake, but only because of the performer's adult sexual. So did you know that they had Flojab in Primary 1s, the transvestite in Scottish schools? And she's got adult sexual content online and all that, like pornographic stuff. He fully supported drag queens coming into primary schools in order to help pupils understand more about LGBT issues. Primary 1, it's confusing for children, guys. Like, it's fine to be gay and fine to be do whatever you want, and right, but don't force it upon our children that don't even understand sex yet. It's just confusing. It's, as I said, they're raping the minds of our children. Right, so that's like I said. So what's going to happen is, let me see if I got us look at something else I've missed. I've missed something, guys. So for anybody that doesn't know, I also done a thing. So the Scottish Government are backing gay LGBT. That's true, right? There was a worldwide, I don't care what MD says, there was a world, I've read them all. There's a world declaration signed. And there was a statement in it to abolish, they say don't state what age, right? The World Health Organisation states what an adolescent is, and it's 10 years old. And they want to abolish all laws and policies that impose limitations on consenting to sex and for 10-year-olds and adults and children with learning disabilities. They believe that they should be able to consent to sex for 10. And they want to abolish all laws that stop it. And the Scottish Government have gave the lobbyists £1 million to go lobby that, as well as bringing the sex education programme into your schools. They're already starting to remove your parental rights without you even knowing. They're starting to sexualise your children. When your children get sexual rights, this is where America is, right? So when your children get sexual rights, it means that they also have gender rights, right? So like I said, the Scottish Government are allowing children for 5 years old now to change their gender and name in school for 5, right? Without parental consent or knowledge. You don't need to tell the parents. So when they bring in the sexual rights with the sex education, that's also going to mean from 7 years old, they have a right to prescribe hormone blockers to your child. If your child decides a wee boy decides to want to be a girl, the school can prescribe them with hormone blockers, right? And you don't need parental, because they've got sexual rights, and it's not up to you anymore. Your child wants to be, your wee girl wants to be a boy, and they've got sexual rights, and the school's going to maintain their sexual rights. Not only that, guys, right? This is the more sinister side of it. This is the paedophile part of it. It also gives this, once your children have sexual rights, it also gives the school rights without parental consent or knowledge to treat children for sexually transmitted diseases in school, right? So this is what I'm trying to say, how sinister and serious this is. This is fucked up. This is global elite paedophiles coming in to rape the minds of your children. They're going to rape your children's minds, and then they're going to rape your children, and they're going to make all the children have sex with each other, right? Think about this. So they're teaching it to your 5-year-old. Your 5-year-old's an innocent child. They're curious, they're experimental. Nobody's taught them boundaries. You have a baby and a 2-year-old in the house, and the 5-year-old comes home from school and experiments on the baby and the 2-year-old. Are you going to get your 5-year-old into trouble for showing their baby brother and sister where their penis is and telling them about sex? Because they're only a child themselves. Who's going to be blamed there? This is chaos waiting to happen. This is absolute insanity. And there's a massive child protection issue, guys, in Scotland, and I'm not kidding. Get this shared. Look into it. Absolutely everything I've said. I'll try and show you the documents, right? I'll try and turn my camera around. And you can maybe screenshot them and find them easier. Right, I'll get the press release one, let's see. Oh, you've got a shoe. So it's working. So how would you do this on YouTube? Because it doesn't let you, does it let you hold it this way, aye? No. It's no. So guys, you'll just need to get that and then go Google it, right? There's the Nutella. Jesus Christ. The camera's not focusing for some reason. Like my shoe. It's hiding my wee phone. There's a bit up it. No, I won't. Let me see. And there's the Zimmer. Just so you can get a wee couple of screenshots of this, guys. This is Scottish Government stuff, right? So there's a wee thing with the UNICEF documents, so you can just go look them up. There's a wee copy of the letter if anybody wants to write the same. God, that wasn't very good the way I did that with her. Let me see what else. Don't know if these will probably be far too tiny to see. So that was the sexual intercourse for 69-year-olds. Hold on. I'm going to just give you pictures, guys, right? Like any documents that's there that you can look up, right? That's that, right? There's a curriculum bill. Right, so I don't know if somebody says I guess you're a Tory. She's bringing up internet printouts. Ricky Ward, go into your school. Do you agree with children being sexualised in school? This is real. It's called RSHP in Scotland. Sexual education for 3-year-olds. If you go and look up all the documents, you can't deny it. If you don't want to see it, then you must be a paedophile along with the paedophiles. So, well done, mate. So, there's a wee... Everyone does know but they're blind, right? And the ones that agree with it and try to defend it are paedophile protectors, right? These are paedophile protectors and they agree with the global sexualisation of children, which means you're a paedophile, mate. So whoever Ward, you're a paedophile. So fuck off my page. You unionist pal, do you like having sex with Waynes or not, aye? Do you all just like having sex with Waynes? Well, please get off my page, because I'll go expose you. I'll get your name and I'll go look everything I can fun on you, and I'll be outside your house next week. David, out please. Stonewall, Scotland. No, don't want to name now. So anyway, as I said, guys, Where's this booklet? I want a booklet to show you. I've got a wee booklet here I made. And I'm going to read exactly everything that means. And it's down to you. If you want to listen. If you don't, then your children will be sexualised and having sex with each other at 3 years old for next year. And with all the wee brothers and sisters in the family and everything. So this is the future of sex education, right? So in 2020, the Scottish Government legislated to take away parental rights, choice and say over primary and comprehensive sex education. Refusal to partake in these lessons will result in the parent breaching their child's sexual rights. Sexual rights allows the state, go and look at the other states that have already done it, like America. Go and look at all the children in gender tablets for 4 years old. Gender transformation tablets. If you agree with that, then you are messed up in the mind and your minds have already been raped by your government and you're fucked. You're part of the paedophiles club, right? So just stay off my live videos and go and do yourself a favour. If I was you, I'd throw myself in the Clyde. So, sexual rights allows the state to administer medications to your child without consent, including hormone blockers, and the right to transition gender from an infant. Like I said, the Scottish Government have already made it legal. Your child from 5 years old, it's a newspaper article, you can go and look up, for anybody that doesn't believe it. From 6 weeks ago, it is now legal in Scotland for your child at 5 to go into primary 1 and change their gender and name while in school, right? So while in school, your 5-year-old can change their name and gender. You have no parental rights over that. You've no say in it, and the school keep it a secret. They don't need to tell you, right? So that's where we're at. That's where we're at now. Lesson content encourages exploring the body and sexual stimulation, sexual consent, porn, prostitution, anal sex, facial ejaculation, fully equipped for bondage by the age 16. Like I said, 242 schools piloted it last year in England. Go look it up if you don't believe me. The schools are teaching this content to children as young as 4. Scotland has just started teaching it and it's RSHP. The frameworks fail to safeguard, leaving children vulnerable to abuse. Wales have already lost their parental rights and are having to take their government to court. They go into court next month. As the sex education is now incorporated into all subjects in school, like I said, maths, primary 1, count sections of the pride flag, and then they get taught about transgender, gays, bisexuals, drag queens, whatever. Because that's normal for a 4-year-old to learn that. And if you think that's normal and you're gay and all, you're fucking sick, right? I have nothing against gay people. I've got loads of gay friends, right? Don't force it into the minds of your children when they don't understand yet. Because that is fucking sick. Yous are raping children's minds. Yous are no better than paedophiles. So here's some key facts globally, right? The waiting list for transgender intervention since this global sex education came in for 4-year-olds has increased by 80% in the last 2 years. 80 to 90% of children change their minds by adult, which is fact. Teachers are not adequately trained to teach it, and they're normalising sexual behaviour, and your children cannot consent. You're living with the fairies, mate. Anybody that thinks it's alright to have sex with a 3-year-old should actually go hang themselves. Seriously, because you've got a disease. So here, let's see this, right? So this is it, right? The global problem and the global virus and the global disease is paedophilia, and people like the guys that think it's funny to laugh at children being taught to touch their baby brothers and sisters at 3 years old, and that a jar of Nutella explain with a banana dipping in it, explaining anal sex is appropriate when it's fucking no, then there's really, really something wrong with yous. The only disease, the real disease in this planet is paedophilia. The global elite's trafficking, exploiting and selling children and adults worldwide. Climate change problem. Well, it's the traffickers, the child traffickers as well, because they're the ones flying about in their private jets. They're the ones going about the world in their cruise ships and their submarines, trafficking children all over the fucking world. There's your climate change problem. Paedophiles. It's all paedophiles. The biggest disease on the planet is paedophiles, and they are a virus, and they're spreading all over the world, right into your nurseries, right into your schools, about to rape the minds of your children, and then they'll have social services, if you don't agree with it, and removing your children for the paedophile child traffickers that work in social services, politicians, judges, Freemasons, the lot of yous, child murdering, raping traffickers. And satanic ritual abuse is real by these people. They sacrifice children. There's thousands of survivors across the planet. But obviously the ones involved in it will choose not to believe it, right? Because they're just fucking, they've got the disease. They've got the paedophile disease where their minds are already fucked and they're already fucked. And it's the world is run by total psychopath paedophiles who are just about to rape the mind of every child across the globe. That's the real virus. They're about to rape the minds of your children.